painting for my whole life. I started when I was 4 years old. I've been teaching for 35 years. And I've taught every type of art possible, but I love watercolors. And about 4 years ago, I got into this Watercolor Gourmet gig, where I use common pantry items and household items to do my paintings. And some of my paintings are up here on display for you. And so I'm going to use this as kind of my cheat sheet. I'm not going to be able to cover everything on here tonight because I just am not going to have enough time, and I want to show you how to do bricks and waterfalls using pan cooking spray, and bricks using coffee, tea, and salt. But before we get into this, I want to give you some really cool tips for you. Got contact paper. The painting that you see down here on the floor, if you want to hold that up, those shells were done with contact paper. Just the stuff that you line your kitchen drawers with. But sandpaper has been used on the painting that you see here, and I'm going to come around and show you. This whole door was done with sandpaper. You can use sandpaper several ways. You can sand the paper first and paint on top of it, or you can paint it first and then sand it away. Well, watercolor, Crayola, watercolor pencil set, and I do my drawing with those. I have a thin, small brush that I get wet, and I blend my watercolor pencil with that. And then, when I go home, I paint it in watercolor. So this way, if I'm on a trip, and I don't want to have to carry a whole bunch of stuff with me, this is a really good, supplement. Yeah, that's the word I want to use. A supplement to get that so you have the colors and you can go home and do a bigger picture. What I did to start this painting is I painted this whole paper. First of all, I got it soaking wet. All right, really wet. And by the way, this is 140 weight arches. Okay, that's what I used. And these trees here were done with masking tape, which I have right over here. What I did for you, because I have this painting and you can actually see it, this is a color copy of it. You can see what I did when I started this painting is I ripped masking tape and I laid it down on here to decide where my trees were going to be. I left one tree out so I could show you how I rip. Now, you have to use thick, this is painter's tape, works fine. Don't go for the watercolor tape, it's too expensive. But what I do is I take my fingers and I rip this. And I try to be pretty slow with it, and I rip towards myself. So now I'm going to lay this birch tree right here. And you see, and I use clear water, and I'm going to totally dampen this paper. Now, you're probably wondering what these two things are. Those are rocks. You see, and now I want to go this way with my golds and my browns. This is yellow ochre, and this is a combination of burnt sienna and raw umber.
You need water?
Don't just take the shaker and go bam, because you'll get too much removal. I take just a pinch and I sprinkle it like this over the whole surface. Now, margarita salt is going to give me bigger snowflakes, I call them. So I don't use a lot of that. But for the fine areas, I'm going to use regular table salt, and I'll put just a little bit of table salt on it, even in my rocks. And by the way, I've got this upside down. I should turn it this way because this instant coffee, sugar-free, I don't care if it has caffeine in it or not. The more you use of this, the darker the colors you'll get here. And so, since I want my rocks to be pretty dark, I'm going to sprinkle quite a bit of coffee on this area. Okay, see, you can smell it. Can you smell it? I get a nice whiff. And that's how all these paintings that you see have been done. Okay. All right. Then we're going to use a little iced tea. You see, it's much finer. So now you're going to get a finer grain. And by the way, iced tea mix makes wonderful sand pebbles on the ocean. And when you're painting an ocean scene, and you put some of this on there, it's wonderful. And I'm going to put a little bit up here in my mountains, just for some texture. Okay. All righty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush now, and I'm going to continue removing color off these rocks. That's what's underneath the waterfall, okay? You see how I'm doing that? Now when you remove your rocks or your brick, you don't want to have the lines line up because it would look odd. You want to have them come at different positions. Okay? Tiny little branches. Like this. And that's how I also did, can you, everybody see this? That's how I did these